listeners. So happy to have you here. Thank you for tuning in. Let's get started. Today, we are covering the four amazing habits you want to develop if you really want a powerfully amazing relationship. Okay, I'm going to speak today truly from my own personal experience. I'm in my 24th year of marriage, and there have been lots of lessons that I have learned that I want to share with you. The first one to begin with is going to be around, of course, something that you'll even expect is beyond love. Respect is what really matters. So, one of the things I've learned the hard way was my tonality. When Puneet and I used to communicate with each other, especially on things where we had a disagreement or a conflict, I used to tend to get really personal. I used to tend to get very nasty in my tone, and that used to really hurt him. Recently, I was watching someone's, I can't remember, was it a reel or where I saw this, and they spoke about a man's respect and a woman for her to feel loved are very important, right? It's not that the other doesn't need the other, but when a woman respects her man and when her man makes his woman feel loved, that combination works very beautifully because any one not happening, the other person will start to get deprived of the other. So let's say if I don't feel loved by Puneet, I'll stop respecting him. If he doesn't feel respected, he'll stop actually loving me. And when I say stop, I mean like momentarily it could happen that way, but overall that will be the energy of the relationship. So you want to make sure that you come into the relationship really respecting the other person, because you know what happens then is that the person is always more important than the problem. I remember once in parenting, someone had told me, your son is not a bad boy, what he did was a bad thing. So don't make him a bad boy, don't use the bad example as his identity, but rather keep the bad on the thing that he did. And the same I say about relationships. Instead of starting to accuse the person, you don't love me, you don't care, you don't have time for me, stick to what is it that he's doing wrong and try your level best to speak about it in a manner where you are actually addressing what it is you want, rather than keep on speaking about what it is that you don't like or don't want in the relationship. So I normally now in my head have this equation that for the first 10 seconds of whenever I am going in to tell him something, I'm allowed to speak about what I'm not liking, but within 10 seconds I have to shift to what is it that I actually want. And I can tell you, when you come with a solution mindset to your man, the man also, instead of getting defensive, opens up his ears and actually listens. A lot of times we feel like we are speaking in this manner, but actually when you'll go into practice it, you'll realize that we tend to spend a lot more time speaking about what we don't want rather than what we do want. So respect is something that I am going to ask every single one of you to bring in. And one of the ways to bring in respect is to just have kindness in your tonality. So beyond everything that you are saying to him, it's not just the choice of words that I'm addressing here. It's all about tonality. So in my if you came for my goddess classes, you'll know at one point there's a 1 week challenge where every morning you have to take honey, put it on your tongue, and then the whole day you have to remember that the only thing that is allowed to come out from your mouth, it should be honey, like sweet or sugary, or that has to be the tonality. So even if you're saying something which is slightly harsh, you have to practice it saying it in a sweet manner. So I literally, make people go, stupid, are you stupid? No, no. And now you can't say that. So how will you say this in a sweet manner? Are you stupid or what? And I know this sounds so crazy and crack, but I'm not joking. The minute you bring in sweetness in your tonality, you can sometimes actually speak the most harshest thing, and yet the other person will be able to receive it with their ears open. Because remember, what actually shuts our ears is not what we are saying, but how we are saying it. Number two, I want to speak to you about is supporting each other's joy. So at one point in my marriage, my husband used to come back home at about 8 o'clock, and then he would say, okay, I'm going to the gym for an hour. And to me, that used to be like, what? You've just come back after a long day. Instead of spending time with me, you're going to now go to the gym? But one of the things I have realized in my marriage is that if you do not support what gives joy to the other person, you will keep on becoming that partner to each other where you deprive each other of what really matters, and instead of your life becoming inspiring together, you both will be expiring to one another. So I remember in 2006, Puneet and I flew to Goa to set our goals, and we wrote out everything that gives us joy, and we wrote out how the partner can support us in that joy. Now, you can call that joy, you can call that passion, you can call that whatever word you want to give it. But at that point, I was very interested in joining courses of self help. I was very interested in my reading. I wanted to start my own book club. I wanted to, so there were things that I wanted to do that at that point he used to feel like बस सारा वक्त पढ़ते ही रहती है, कोशिश ही करते रहती है. He started to stop saying any sentence like that, and he started to actually focus on, okay, if that gives you joy, Puja, do it. And the same I did. He wanted to go to the gym, he wanted to start playing golf, he wanted to. So one of the rules we made was that no kind of complaining around things that make the other person happy. Now, what can you do? You can take compensation. So I used to say, Puneet, if you want to play golf on the weekends, then you must take me out on Wednesday nights for dinner, so that I feel like I got my time with you, and it becomes easier for me to say yes to your joy when I am in joy. If I am deprived of joy, automatically I will feel like depriving you of yours. So that changed a lot in our marriage when we started to support each other's joy. Not only it became, not only we both felt loved and supported, I feel like at one point both of us started to become more complete as human beings and in our happiness, thanks to this one activity. Another thing that really has worked for P and me has been the system of how we resolve conflict. So every couple has these 2 3 topics that are basically volatile. You know that whenever this topic will be touched, there will be a sort of argument that will get started because our value system or our perspective on this topic does not match. For example, I'm a macro person, Puneet's a micro person, so he tends to get into the details very quickly. I remain very visionary or on top of things. So we tend to then have conflict. If we are discussing money, we tend to have conflict because he comes from a place of being a saver, I come from a place of increase your income to the level of your expenses. So we have a different way of looking at money in the first place. So for him, everything is how can I get it at the cheapest price. For me, it is every shop I will enter, which is the most expensive, that must be the best quality. So then I want the best one. If I can afford it, why not? So you can see directly there in itself, there is conflict of what we're going to talk about. So now we've divided our departments. So anything to be bought for home, Puja will decide. Anything to be bought for office or work or his personal stuff, he will decide. And what is mine, of course, personal, I will decide. And so therefore I'm sitting on the iPhone 14 while he must be sitting on the iPhone 8 or 9 because he doesn't feel the need to upgrade, while I pick up the new iPhone the minute it comes out. Good for Apple. You know what I mean, right? So for some of you listening to all of this, like, Puja, but why do you feel the need? It's not about why someone likes the yellow balloon and why someone likes the red balloon. It's not about the why. It is about learning to resolve this. So we create departments and compartments in our marriage. For example, Puneet is an extremely punctual person. He likes to go before time, rather even not even on time, before time. So if he has to go to the airport, he'll go 3 hours in advance, while you can easily go 2 hours in advance. If he has to go to a party, if the card says 8:30, he'll plan to leave the home at 8:15. So again, these were issues we were having. So now we've resolved our conflict by coming to the conclusion that all airport timings will be decided by him. I will adjust to going 3 hours earlier, and all party timings will be decided by me, and he will adjust to going an hour later. So like that, what's happened over the years is we find conflict, and then we sit down and go, okay, what's the best solution? Because we don't want to spend the rest of our life having the same fight every day. you know now, I'm not saying every topic is resolvable. I'm not even saying that a couple should not fight. I believe that, patch up is one of the most beautiful ways to upgrade a relationship, because every now and then fights actually bring you closer if you know how to do them the right way. But Yes, if you're fighting on the same thing every day, again and again, then I say, okay, first year, second year, third year, but if in your 30th year, if in your 20th year, you're still discussing that same damn thing, you know that you haven't come up with a beautiful system around how you are going to resolve conflict. How do you do it? Never do it in the heat of the moment. At that point, fight it out the way you want, and whoever wins, wins. But at a later point, when both of you are emotionally stable, because remember, when emotions are high, intelligence goes low, and we'll end up saying things that we only apologize for later on, even if we are right. You want to make sure that you actually, when you're more emotionally stable, you sit down and you thrash out the conversation around the deeper meaning of why you need that in your life. For example, Puneet needs that, what do you call that, like bandwidth, that if a tire punctures for the airport, or if something goes wrong, he has enough time to yet be able to make it to the airport, and for him that is what gives him security. Now that I understand that, for me it becomes very easy to then not taunt him on, I don't know why you need to go 3 hours before, da 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 da, whatever else that comes out of our mouths, right? And the last but not the least is for me letting go, or accepting that no relationship is perfect, no human being is perfect. What do I mean by the fourth point? I see so many people struggling with not being able to accept that one thing in the partner, that if they just accepted, everything else is great. So let's say someone's not romantic, and imagine the wife spending her whole life every single day saying, if only he was more romantic, if only he was more expressive, if only he made my birthday specials, if only. There is so much in her relationship that exists that she's not even noticing, because she's blindsided herself to that one thing that's not working for her. And I feel like a lot of us have these one, two, or three things where we are so badly stuck in the relationship that we're not willing to accept the other person for who they are. I would love for you, especially now in 2023, in the new year, love for you to just sit down and make a list of what are those things that trouble you the most, that you think that if you accepted, this entire relationship energy would change. It's not like they don't want to, it is that sometimes the other person is not capable of doing that. So I believe that, you know what, for so many years I kept complaining to Puneet, you don't give me compliments, you don't appreciate me, you're taking me for granted. Those kind of sentences used to often come out of my mouth, because my love language is words of appreciation, and he's a man who expresses his love through actions. He's the one who'll pull the chair, who'll make sure that my tickets are done, that I'm received at the airport, that the driver in the car is waiting for me downstairs. His actions are very loud in his love, but unfortunately when it comes to words, he's someone who does not tend to express naturally all of that. So for a long time that was my biggest complaint, till I reached a point and I said, Pooja, do you want to keep focusing on this and keep on reducing the energy of something that is so beautiful, or are you willing to let it go? And I can tell you, the day I released myself of the need of wanting approval, appreciation, acknowledgement, importance, and all of that, I feel like I'm getting a lot more of it from him. So I'd love for you to look up what's that one thing where your relationship feels stuck, and see if you can give yourself a 1 month permission to just let go, which means no blaming, no complaining about that one thing. And I can tell you, when you stop doing that, you'll shift the energy of the whole relationship. So a very quick revision: number one thing that I want you to work on your relationship is your tonality, so that you're able to speak to one another with respect. Secondly, starting to learn to support each other's passions, or joys as I like to call it. Number three, creating a full system around conflicting issues, so that you know how to resolve them, how to speak of them when you are in your calm state. And last but not the least, letting go or accepting that no human being is perfect, and in no one person will you get everything. So what's going to be that one thing that you're going to say, it's okay if this person doesn't have it, at least he has everything else. And once you have all of these four working for you, I can assure you, one of the things very naturally that will happen is your relationship will elevate to a point of being inspiring, being enjoyable. And you know what, when all of that comes into the relationship. There's a certain amount of aliveness that comes into the relationship, through which then of course your communication becomes better, your intimacy becomes better, everything starts to get better when you have an open heart of liking the other person, not just loving the other person. We love our partner, but some of us don't like the other person enough, and I think it's very important to build eyes through which you can like the person, not just love the person. So on that note, I'm going to ask you, do practice these and tell me below which one is your favorite. Okay, bye, ciao, see you next time.